Having some technical difficulties. That just for the record, that's real wood. That's real wood. Just I know that it's like waving and like doing like weird stuff right now because I accidentally knocked it, but it's real. Just like when the wood gets scared, it kind of like moves around a little bit. Anyhow, welcome to Here's My Thing. I'm your host, Frankie Salazar, even though by this point, do I really need an introduction? I'm pretty much Kim Kardashian at this point. But today, we're going to be talking about something very interesting, and that is my health. Yay! Now, for those of you who think it's not going to be interesting, I advise that you stick around for this video because it's probably going to be more entertaining than any other video I do because it pertains to my natural, real, unedited life. Now, my life is something they could literally write a book on because I do so much. Like in a year. Like there is so much that I do. There are so many phases that I go through, so many crazy health scares and all this shit that happens in my life. Frankly, it's exhausting, and but it's also really funny, and I make a lot of good memories along the way. But some of my lesser fond memories have to do, like I said, with my health. In particular, my cardiac health. Now, for those of you who follow me on Instagram, I would like to kind of reiterate and go a little bit deeper as to the history of my health when it comes to my heart and everything like that, because you guys all just got a glimpse. Boom! Frankie's in the hospital, and the headline is he almost went into a cardiac arrest. Now, that is not an exaggeration. So, just to give you a little bit of history, a little under 6 years ago, we were going through some issues. Particularly when it came to, school and COVID and everything like that. I was really stressed when it came to school because I wasn't doing my best because I was suffering with what we thought were panic attacks. Now, for those of you who have never had a panic attack in your life, I'm telling you right now, you are the most blessed person on the planet because I wouldn't wish it on literally my worst enemy. It literally feels as though you're about to literally die. Like there is imminent doom around. Your heart is going to give out and you're going to collapse and die. It happened, to me on so many occasions, including that of I would be at concerts with friends or like a play at school, or I'd be golfing or, just doing very leisure fun activities, and it would trigger. And during that era of my life, like I said, a little under 5 or 6 years ago, I was in summer school. I was failing in school. I was morbidly obese, as we covered a couple shows back, as we're going to mention every single time, because the gag is I'm pretty thin now. So yeah, say what you want to say. And still counting. Weight lost and counting. Okay, don't play. I'll be a work in progress for the rest of my life like the rest of you bitches. As a matter of fact, some of you bitches need to check yourselves. Need a little bit of a reality check coming from me and my weight. You know what I love about what I just did there? I wasn't even thinking about anyone in particular. I literally am sitting here in my studio, and by studio, I mean my mother's garage, with my lighting that is broken that I bought at Best Buy. And I wasn't even thinking of anybody in particular that makes fun of my weight because it doesn't happen, like it never really did. And I was literally just fighting with myself, having a conversation with myself, like a schizophrenic, with my phone 5 feet away from my face, thinking of nobody in particular. So I literally just had a fight. But we're all works in progress, okay? That's just what I want to say. Here's my thing. We're all works in progress, okay? Me included. Now, at the time, I was referred to a cardiologist because when you are morbidly obese, you have a lot of fat surrounding your heart, and that can literally create issues because there's not enough space in your chest cavity to maintain that level of fat and your heart at the same time. So, my doctor's recommendations and everything were to lose weight, de-stress, blah, 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 blah. All the lame shit, like, don't eat cookies, don't, bed rot all day. Maybe go outside a little bit. Maybe talk to a friend. Maybe, skip a meal as an homage to my great-grandmother who used to fat shame me all the time. May she rest in peace, girl. But what I really want to say is, that was their recommendation. So over the next couple of years, that's what I did. And I was struggling with it, and I was struggling with it, and they would happen at, in the dead of night. I would be sleeping, and what I thought were panic attacks were just waking me up, and I would be rushed to the hospital. Now, unfortunately, every single time I went to the hospital, I was completely fine. It's as if nothing had even happened, and that was the craziest part. Because, you know your own body, okay? And at the end of the day, you know your own body, you know what your normal feels like, okay? Now, your normal may not be somebody else's normal, but I knew that when you have this crushing pain in your chest and you can't breathe, it feels like you're literally suffocating and about to collapse, that's probably not normal. But every time I'd go to the hospital, I was completely stabilized. A little shaken up, but I was completely stabilized. So that had prompted them to refer me to see a psychiatrist, who then put me on medication, because that's what they do. That's what they do when people are, quote, crazy, is they diagnose you with some bullshit mental disorder, don't really go into the nitty and gritty of things, and just put you on medication the second you walk into their office because they want your insurance money. That's just a sad fact of the United States. But anyhow, they put me on this medication, and it completely makes it worse. So I get off of it, and I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to see a fucking shrink when I'm literally dying. I literally have a heart issue, okay? I don't know what it is. They can't diagnose it, but there is something going on here, and my dad works in the union. I have some of the best insurance in the entire country, and I'm very blessed for that. And the fact of the matter is, you see me as a hospital professional. Typically when you see someone who has insurance like that, you want to take advantage of them. You want to do every single test. You're like, yeah, let's get a CAT scan, let's get a urine scan, let's get an x-ray, let's do all this shit, because my insurance is going to pay for it, but these assholes didn't. They told me to eat blueberries. Literally, that's what they said. They said, well, maybe you're vitamin deficient. Maybe eat some blueberries. Because by this point, I had lost over 130 pounds. I wasn't as stressed anymore. I had graduated high school. I was getting into my career and doing all this stuff. And I was a lot healthier mentally and physically. Emotionally and physically. Mentally, or what we thought was mentally, was, still a struggle. It was every day. It was an uphill battle every single day with, I was convinced that I had heart issues. And, we had family and friends who didn't really understand it, but a lot of them did sympathize with me. But it got to the point where, when you're diagnosed with an anxiety disorder and you never have had anxiety in your life, I am literally the least frightened person of the world. Before this, I would wrestle, I would play sports, I would go golfing with friends, I would go to concerts, I would shoot guns, I would do all kinds of shit. And then as the anxiety grew worse and worse and worse and worse through the years, I noticed that there were certain physical triggers. I couldn't even swing a golf club. Okay? The most leisure activity on the planet that's supposed to be good for your mental, emotional, and physical health because you're outside. You're with your buddies. You're drinking beer. You're swinging the club. It is the most leisure thing you can do. And apparently, when you twist the wrong way, it will set you off. And, I would tell my cardiologist these things, and they almost thought it was not funny, but kind of they swept it under the rug. They didn't really believe me. You know what I mean? And that there's no worse feeling than speaking to, somebody who you look to as a professional, like a health professional who's going to get you out of, what you think is a health crisis. But you know what? I look at it optimistically. I try not to blame them because, like I said, prior to this, every single time I had a quote-unquote attack or an anxiety attack, I would rush myself to the hospital. People thought it was funny or that I was crazy, or I could see how they would want to give somebody an anxiety diagnosis because, when you think you're dying, but nothing is coming up on their machines or nothing is coming up, everything is stable, it's absolutely crazy. Until just under 2 months ago. So it was my best friend Mason's 21st birthday, and we had a beautiful night out. We went to Chili's because that's, gourmet dining to them. That's his favorite spot, and that's my friend's favorite spot to eat because that is fine dining to them. Let me tell you, if they can find any excuse to go to Chili's, they will. Now, we're enjoying our time at Chili's, and now that I look back on it, I do want to say that I was feeling a little off, but nothing was absolutely out of the norm because, like I said, I've been feeling off for a little under 5 years, so this wasn't a new feeling to me. Sometimes there would be a little drop in my chest, or, maybe I had a little bit of heavy breathing, but, like I said, I was much healthier, or I am now than when I was. Like, I was highly stressed, I was much overweight back then. And again, I'm just with friends. I'm sitting at Chili's, minding my business, and we're having a good time. And then we decide to go bowling. Now, in the last clip, I said that golf was the most leisure sport ever. No, bowling is. Now, I'm going to take that back because bowling has to, hands down, be the most leisure sport unless you're one of those losers that considers like chess a sport. There are literally people who argue that chess is a sport. I don't know what the qualifications to be a sport is, but I digress. My point is, we decide to go bowling. And again, we have a pitcher of beer. I'm laughing. I'm making jokes with my friends. Well, what ends up happening, and I'm going to try to explain this in the best way that I can because it's very strange. I was bowling, and it was my turn to go. And what happened was I overstepped. And when I overstepped, I hit the grease on the bowling, aisle, on the bowling aisle. There it is. It came to me, finally. And I'm standing there in the bowling aisle, and as I slip, I catch myself. But right as I catch myself, boom, my heart goes all out of whack. And I instantly start getting disoriented and everything. And I wonder if and when my friends will even see this, assuming they do, I want to ask them, because I didn't ask them that night. They were kind of blissfully unaware that anything was going on. But I was going in and out of the bathroom. I went and bought a water. I was trying to, not have to leave my best friend's 21st birthday party, despite having a literal health crisis. But I didn't know that. Because for the past 5 years, I had been told, Frankie, you're crazy. You just have anxiety. So I'm like, okay, this is just a panic attack. this too shall pass type shit. And I just decided to try to stay, do my best to stay with my friends and everything. Well, then, I almost get to the 10th frame. I think I'd finished like 8 or 9 of them. Like, I might as well have just stayed for the whole thing. But anyhow, I end up having to leave. And I go home, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to try to wait this out, maybe see what's going on. This is like an hour in, and my heart still hasn't stabilized. Now, this one felt a little bit different because the best way I could describe it is like you right now, sitting at home, watching this, you cannot feel your own heart beating. Or at least you shouldn't. And if you do, I'm going to tell you right now, you should probably go get that checked out. But you cannot, just as you're sitting here, in a chair in your bed or whatever, unless your ear's pressed up against your arm or, you're holding your hands or whatever, you shouldn't be able to really feel your own heart beating, especially when it's out of whack. Like, it was like fluttering for like over an hour. So I take myself to the hospital or the emergency room here in town, and they pull up my record, and as I mentioned, I have a history because I've been going to the same hospital forever. I have a history of anxiety, so that's what they thought that it was. But when you complain about heart palpitations, they have to take you in, right? So they take me to the back, and they run an EKG, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the nurse is printing the EKG. She's looking at it, she's looking at it, she's looking at me, and she's looking at it, and she's looking at me, and she's like, yeah, I'm going to go get the doctor. And then all of a sudden, there's like 6 people in the room because my resting heart rate was in the 140s, even though I hadn't moved for over an hour. Okay, that's not a good sign. Your heart shouldn't be going over like 70 BPM when you're not doing anything, which is what my heart is normally at. It's like in the 70s range. So my heart rate was literally double, and I could literally feel it. And I was getting weaker and weaker and dizzier as the time went on. And yeah, they inject, this heart medicine into me, and they hold me overnight and all this shit, and it was just really bad. Well, then I meet with a cardiologist while I'm in the hospital, and they recommend to me this certain beta blocker heart medication. Well, then I was feeling off, because the heart medication lowers your blood pressure and slows your heart rate down. So I was very, the symptoms of it, I was getting very dizzy, and, I just wasn't feeling my best because, like I said, that's America. They want to medicate you. So I'm on this medication called metoprolol, and I'm not going to expect you to go ahead and look at it, but basically what it does is it's supposed to kind of manipulate the electric, shock in your heart so that it kind of stabilizes and slows it down. Well, my body wasn't reacting to it the way that they anticipated. Flash forward 6 weeks later. So this is a little over a week and a half ago now. I'm golfing with my friends. Again, we're at the beautiful Paiute Golf Resort here in town at the Indian Reservation, just north of Mount Charleston. And it's a beautiful day outside. I mean, the high is like 65. It's overcast. I'm with my friends. We're about to go golfing. And we decide to hit the practice range before we actually go out and play. So as we're standing at the practice range, I probably hit like 50 to 70 balls before, nothing's happening. Well, then right as my other friends get there, because it was the four of us, I take a swing. And again, like I mentioned, with the weird twist, it knocks my heart way out of rhythm again. And I now have to leave. But this time it was very, very different. Okay, this time was different because when your heart rate, when you're in an arrhythmic, or I don't even know if that's the right word, when you're having an arrhythmia, attack or an episode, you're going to feel off. You're going to feel very disoriented. It's very scary. Like I said, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But this one was really bad because I couldn't take a full breath for like an hour. And I was, again, trying. I was trying so hard, even with my prior diagnosis less than 6 weeks prior, to just try to fight it because, my arrhythmia comes and goes. There's a lot of people's who don't. Mine does. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe this will go away. Again, this too shall pass. And it does not go away. And I'm getting more and more disoriented and almost faint. And my friends are sitting there, they're on the putting green and whatnot, and they're looking at me, and I'm literally like this. Like, I probably looked like a literal corpse. Now, I don't know what it looked like on their end, but they're like, "Are you okay, Frankie? Maybe you should go." And I'm like, no, I'm good. Can't even take a full breath. Like, I'm literally don't even know where I'm at. Like, it is so bad. So you know what I decide to do? I decide to drive myself to the hospital. Not call an ambulance, not call 911, not call a family member. I drive myself, which was hands down the dumbest decision I could have made in my entire life. I could have killed somebody. I could have killed myself. I could have killed somebody. And the reason I know that is because the only thing that gave me the confidence to drive was I was wearing sunglasses. And because when I was very disoriented, I was very sensitive to the light. So when I was wearing my sunglasses, it kind of stabilized that, and I could just see barely enough in front of me to try to make it to the hospital. And that's exactly what I did. But the second my glasses came off in the hospital, I was completely blind. Like, I was that sensitive to the light. Very scary. So I go in, and the receptionist, he's like, ooh, what's going on? Like, I must have not looked good because I probably was very pale. I was moving slow. I was slurring my speech. And they're like, ooh, what's going on? So he's like, are you experiencing heart palpitations? And I said, yes. And then boom, again, I'm hooked up to 10 machines. I got all these nurses on me. And they find that my now resting heart rate is in the 200s. So now my resting heart rate is in the 200s. And my blood pressure was critically low. Like on the brink of death low. And they were trying to treat me. They were trying to do blood work and everything, but my blood pressure was so low that they couldn't even see the veins in my body. So they had to do what's called a cardioversion. I literally felt like I was in a episode of Grey's Anatomy, okay? Now, a cardioversion in the movies is when they go zzz, clear, and they zap your ass back to life, okay? And I'm like, holy shit. Like, they're about to do this to me. It's going to be so bad. But here's the best part, guys. Here's the best part. It's not like the movies. What they do is they put two big stickers across each side of your chest and one big one down your back. And they're talking to you the whole time. They're like, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to have to do what's called a cardioversion because we have to snap your heart rhythm back. And of course, legally, they have to tell you all the, dangers of it. So now I'm tripping. I'm like, holy shit. I'm going to go into cardiac arrest and literally die. And these people are going to watch me die. And my family's already on the way. And it's just so bad. Well, before they do the cardioversion on you, because again, it's very abrasive. It's very painful, or could be. What they do is they literally inject fentanyl into your veins. Okay, I was off motherfucking fent before they did this, cardioversion on me. And right before they're about to do that, the doctor goes into the lobby to tell my parents what's going on because I requested that I didn't want my family back there. They offered. They were like, "Do you want your family in here?" I said no, because if it was anything like the movies, my was going to freak them out, because when they do it, when they shock you, it literally feels like every single muscle in your body tightens, like as if you got punched, like you got hit by like a semi-truck. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. But what's funny about it is it's not like painful. Like you jolt up, and it's the craziest thing ever that's ever happened to me. But what's funny is my body reacted to it very good. Like, I snapped right out of it. My heart rate went back down to the 70s. My blood pressure was normal. My oxygen was normal. But when they have to do something like that to you, you have to stay in the hospital overnight. And so then I learned later on that I was this close to going into a cardiac arrest, which was very, very, very bad. Now, while they're doing this procedure and whatnot, the doctor tells my mom one thing and tells me another. When we were in the operating room, they said that, they were very optimistic. Not optimistic, but they were very reassuring and very kind and very, speaking to me, normal. Maybe they just didn't want to freak me out. But they told my mom, they gave her the impression that it, quote, didn't look good. Okay? And I didn't know about that. And then thank God the procedure ended up working as it should have, because then I ended up looking fine. But they told my mom that it, quote, didn't look good, to which she calls my stepdad and my family and everything like that. And there was this huge miscommunication that I had literally died. Okay? And so now I have family members who are literally freaking out. Family friends who are calling my family members saying, "Hey, did you hear the news? Frankie died, and we're just so sorry. We want to send our condolences." Frankie did not die. Okay? Frankie's here. If you're watching this video right now, Frankie's alive, and he's doing good. In fact, he never died in the hospital ever. In fact, the exact opposite has to happen when you flatline. Okay? Most people think, like in the movies, "Oh my God, we're losing him. He's flatlining. We have to, zap him." That's not how that works. Your heart, when they do that procedure, your heart has to be, there has to be some electricity going on. If you flatline, it is game over. They're going to have to do CPR. They're going to have to inject you. They're going to have to do a whole bunch of crazy shit. I didn't even come close to that even happening, guys, okay? But for those of you who follow me on Instagram, I documented my entire hospital journey. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and put up some clips right now. So go ahead and take it away, Frankie, because we did an episode of Here's My Thing from the hospital. So go ahead, take it away. Already? Mm-hmm. Oh, all right. Welcome to Here's My Thing, guys. We're live in the ER because about 2.5 hours ago I flatlined, and they had to shock me to bring me back to life. Just kidding. I did not flatline. That was just a rumor, so just so you were all clear that I'm okay. I'm A-okay. My dad's over there hiding in the corner. Cameraman. Get my dad in the corner there. But we're good. We're going to be back on our regularly scheduled programming in just a few days. I did drop a video today, January 25th. So if you guys want to catch up on that and then send me pictures or videos or anything, like, that'd be really nice and make me feel good while I'm in prison. So anyhow, I'll see you guys soon. So as you can see in that clip, my sister's sitting there recording me, and my dad is there very, very distraught because, again, he got word that I was dead. And when he found out that I wasn't dead, he was very relieved. And he comes into the hospital and finds me, again, high on Fent. So here I am slurring my words, and I'm like, are we rolling? All right. Here we go, guys. Welcome to Here's My Thing. I'm your host, Frankie Salazar, and it was like, what was I thinking? Like, the medical professionals are in there, like, looking at me like, what the hell is this kid talking about? What is Here's My Thing? He's crazy. He's on fentanyl. We just had to snap his heart out of rhythm and just do all this crazy shit. But I was feeling good. Like, see, I understand why people buy fentanyl off the street. Like, I totally get it. Because I felt better than I had in my entire life, and I was this close to going into a cardiac arrest. I mean, come on now. If I was going to go into another cardiac arrest and I was a street junkie, give me some fentanyl. That's all I'm thinking. But regardless of that, I documented the whole thing. And then when they transferred me from the emergency room to the hospital, they give me Food. They try to give you all these meals. And every time I go to the hospital, without fail, I just lose my appetite and I want to go on a hunger strike because they're holding me there. I'm like, well, I'm stable and you guys are trying to keep me here and I'm pissed off, so let me go home. And I kept insisting that I wanted to sign what's called an AMA, which is a fancy little shortened acronym for Against Medical Advice Form, which basically says that they want to keep you there, but your wants to go, so they can't hold you against your will. But then they threatened me and said that my insurance, my dad's insurance, my wonderful insurance, wouldn't pay for any of the things that they did that night if I chose to leave. And I'm like, oh my God. Now I have to stay here, like literally, on this uncomfortable bed. I have all these IVs in my arm. They're coming to poke me in my hands at 4 a.m. I couldn't even piss alone. These assholes literally wanted to come in every single time because they have weights. Like your bed, the hospital bed is weighted. So they can tell when you're moving on it or when you stand up. And every time I stood up, it would go beep, 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 beep. And it would alert the nurse and she'd come running in and be like, oh my God, what's going on? I'm like, I'm just trying to take a piss. Like I'm about to rip my IV out of my arm if you don't relax. Like, I feel fine. Like, let me out of here. So then I document the whole thing. And I'll even go ahead and put a little bit of a clip up on the side showing off the wonderful slop that they gave me. And I'll even put up a little bit of a clip of me explaining about my time in the hospital. So again, go ahead and take it away, Frankie. Okay. Hospital story time today, because whenever I post that I'm in the hospital, everyone thinks that I'm like on the brink of death. And after them giving me this slop that they call food, I would have preferred to have died. But I'm actually lying when I say that, because I didn't order this. This is just something they gave me because I'm on a cardiac diet, which means I'm like have to be low sodium and like stuff like that. So they gave me fish, and you would think that hospital fish would be like really gross, and it's like pretty good. But anyhow, today I get up at 8:30 in the morning to go on just a nice, relaxed, chill golf trip with some of my friends at the Paiute Golf Resort just past Mount Charleston. And we're playing, or not even playing, we're in the practice facility, and I take a swing, and all of a sudden my heart feels like it just dropped out of my chest, and I'm about to literally faint and die. And then I drive myself all the way to an emergency room where they hook me up to a machine to find that my blood pressure was critically low and that my heart rate was going over 200 beats per minute at the same time. So, yeah, that was critically bad. And they ended up having to attach 3 large stickers to my chest and 1 in my back, and literally do cardio shock therapy on me. Now, it's not as dramatic like it is in the movies where they're like, clear, and then they like shock your ass. That's not how it goes. They talk to you the whole time, and you don't really even feel a thing. And then 2 milliseconds after they had done the shock therapy, I immediately felt better. Like when I say immediately, I mean immediately. And like, I'm good. I never flatlined. I was not at risk of dying at all. I mean, had they not intervened, like had I not gone, there was a very good chance that I could have died, but I was in the right place. Now, I do have to meet with some cardiologists and stuff just to really see what the deal is with my health going forward. But this has been something that I've been struggling with for a couple of years now, so it's definitely something that I could live with. But yeah, today was just a little bit of a scare, but still fun. Like, so kind of a vibe, like, oh my God, I almost died. But anyhow, I'll see you later. Here's my thing. What I want to get at is, now I'm at the stage where they're now recommending that I do something called the cardiac ablation procedure. It's a very straightforward procedure, although albeit it does sound a little bit scary, because when you're having to do anything that involves a surgical procedure on your heart, it can be a little crazy. but they go in through the major artery in your leg. You're in and out in the same day. And essentially what they do is they go in through the nerve and they burn off the excess electricity, because that's what's going on in my heart is I'm having too much electricity that's causing it to have that weird, kind of freak out. So what they're going to do is they're going to burn it off. And in theory, if all goes well, I will never have a single episode ever again. And I'll be back to playing sports, golfing with friends, going to concerts, doing all the things I used to love. I just want my life back, frankly. And I don't mean to get all soapy and soppy on here, but that's just the truth. It's been a struggle for a couple of years now. And what I really want to leave this off with is, at the end of the day, you know your body. And if you're someone who does have adequate health insurance, or even if you don't, they do have to take care of you in an emergency situation. Granted, given the United States, it's going to cost you $1 million, but it is what it is. If it gets you your life, if you're alive, that is the greatest gift that anyone could give you. And your health is something that you should really prioritize. And your heart, I learned the hard way, can be affected by not only your physical health, but also your mental and emotional health as well. And it is such a crisis out there right now. I didn't even know how common the issues that I had were, because I was Googling it, and there are so many kids, particularly in sports, a lot of people who get hit in the chest. There was that football player not too long ago who was hit in the chest right as the electrical current had hit his heart, and it stopped it. Right at the same time. I mean, that is just a wild occurrence, but those are the type of things that can happen when you play sports. I mean, there was a story from the Mayo Clinic of a kid who was my age. He was 20 years old. He was a soccer player, and boom, he went into what's called the supraventricular tachycardia, which is exactly what I had as well. It's a type of very dangerous arrhythmia that sends your heart up into the 2 to the 300s. So at the end of the day, you know your own body, and don't let anyone ever tell you that, you're just having anxiety or you're being dramatic. If something feels wrong, you need to get that checked out, and you need to fight those doctors for every kind of test that you can, especially if your insurance is taking care of it, because they need to get to the root cause of it, because I would have never known. They even admitted to me, this is something that you were more than likely born with. So let me get this straight. If I'm born with this issue and I've been going to cardiologists on and off for over 5 years, how is it just now, when I was on the brink of literal cardiac arrest, that we find it now? I don't know. But at the end of the day, I have had a blast telling you this crazy story about my health and my life and giving you a little bit of an update. If you don't care, I don't blame you. This is just kind of more just me trying to put a video out and kind of give a little bit of a comedic twist onto things, because when bad things happen to me in my life, in a way to... my best coping mechanism is through comedy and is through talking to people. So I hope you took the time to like this video. And if you made it all the way to the end, as always, I would love to hear your thing. This has been Here's My Thing, starring Frankie Salazar, and I will see you in the next one.